This is Ashley Davis, number 12, with women's basketball, and you're listening to Inside the Hive.
Welcome to Inside the Hive. Right now I'm joined with Coach Mischke, head coach for track and field. Coach, how are you?
Doing well. Doing well.
Perfect. Well, I was just going to pick your brain a little bit about Brookings and also Topeka, because we've had several records broken and just a lot to be proud of this last week. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. It was a good weekend for the Yellow Jackets, without a doubt. It's one that we kind of gear some of our training towards, like we talked about last week a little bit, relative to trying to peak kids just a little bit and let them air it out this weekend. I think it's similar for a lot of coaches around the country. They kind of really gear up for that weekend and just gather all that training. Hopefully you can get, at a site that's going to allow you to produce some efforts competitively. And certainly our kids down in Topeka lit it up, took over and kind of went crazy down there, which was cool with Ruby, and 2 school records there in the mile and the 3K. Ziomara got the 5K record done, and then Keith had 2 really good races in the mile, 4:10, 70 something I think on Thursday, and then came back on Saturday, ran 4:09 for an actual PR, and his best provisional mark to date relative to that. So they did awesomely. And then we had a ton of PRs in South Dakota at SDSU as well on the track with the distance kids. And then Hannah Hendrick put up a nice vault there, 12.9.5, moved her up in the list nationally. Was an indoor PR for her. And then some other kids were doing some pretty salty stuff as well there at that meet. And it's a big meet. It's a nice big track, 300 meters, like we talked about last week. And, certainly our distance kids took advantage of that. And it was a good weekend all around.
Yeah, and you were talking about some of the records being broken. Well, the records being broken, one of them was Ziomara Robinson's old record that Ruby broke. Does that create any more competition around that?
They've got a good relationship relative to push and pull. They've had it here for the last couple of years, certainly great training partners. They're both very competitive. They don't like losing to anyone, let alone a teammate necessarily, but it's a little bit easier to take. But they've been great for each other in that sense. And, like I said, Zio's probably happy for Ruby to a certain degree, but I mean, she's a competitive kid as well. And, certainly is going to maybe try to want that back here in the next 2 weekends relative to what we decided to do with her this weekend and next weekend at conference. So got some different things we got to play for from a national standpoint as far as the DMR relay, maybe qualifying hopefully this weekend or at conference. So there's some different scenarios that are coming to light for us, but certainly going to, at the end of the day, continue to train, move forward, and hopefully continue to break some school records.
Great. That's the biggest plan.
Yeah.
So speaking of moving on, we have the Stinger Open here at home this weekend. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's always good. I think if you can have the opportunity, and with our great facility we have here, we do host quite a few times, but before conference, you really don't necessarily want to be traveling, overnight or a long distance. You want to kind of get your meet done, don't have to do a whole lot, sleep in your own bed, that kind of a thing. And then that next week in this conference, the conference can be a 10-hour, 11-hour, 12-hour bus ride, down to get to that competition. So you certainly want to have energy in the tank going into that scenario, and staying home, being able to have that opportunity is great for our kids. And I think, certainly the surrounding teams appreciate us hosting that weekend, so they don't have to travel 6 hours either to find something to compete in.
Yeah, because here it's a nice central location for them. I mean, we have Mary coming, right?
Yep.
We have Mines. Who else is planning to come?
Chadron State, and Rocky Mountain, and then ourselves. So it'll be a nice little 5-team meet, roughly speaking. Some of the other teams that we have gotten here in the past, it's their conference weekend, like Dickinson State or MSUB at Billings. They're having their conference meet this weekend, so they're not obviously going to be coming. So, but again, it's usually a nice little conglomerate of the area schools that we typically get, and then that DMR has become something where teams have come out here to chase a little bit of a track conversion and an altitude conversion. So we've gotten teams as far away as Northwest Missouri State's come out here before, to try to chase a national mark in that relay. So Mankato State might be bringing out their men's team, for instance, and whatnot. So so it's kind of cool in that sense to be able to afford that again to people not only in our area but maybe some long distance folks that want to come here and chase a little bit.
Right. Oh, that's perfect. And we really look forward to this weekend, and starting Friday at 4:30, correct?
Correct. Yep. We're going to do a few events Friday night, weight throw on the field, and then we've got the 5Ks and the DMRs as well that night. And then we'll come back on Saturday, starting at noon with the running, and then noon with the field events, 1 o'clock with the running, and then move the rest of that second day forward. And like I said, hopefully come out of there with some nice things that we can take into conference week next week.
Absolutely. No, this is going to be great, and you're coming into the final part of the indoor season, which means that we're going to be, of course, like we talked about last week, moving into the outdoor season. Which we definitely look forward to as well, as long as our weather decides to hold out for us.
Yes, yeah, vitamin D and bring it on, or we're looking forward to getting outside and getting
some fresh air,
getting the tan going and whatnot. But no, certainly want to take care of the rest of indoor. Obviously, we have some kids with some national aspirations, national hopes,
right,
who are on the list. Got to kind of move themselves up. So that's exciting to kind of see how that plays out the next 2 weeks. But being able to have a representation at Pittsburgh State in Kansas at the national championship in the middle of March is a goal, certainly,
absolutely,
of ours. And then once we kind of get that, remedied, then certainly we'll flip that switch to go outdoor, and then we'll bring everything we need, mucklucks and tank tops and suntan lotion. I mean, whatever it takes to get stuff done. Yeah,
absolutely.
No doubt.
Well, Coach, we look forward to talking with you next week after the Stinger Open and seeing how things went. And that'll be it for us from Inside the Hive.
This has been a BHSU Athletics production. Fear the Sting.